So here are the content we are planning to cover in this module. Basically, our aim is to discuss the main stages of developing information systems, how we gather the requirements, how we design, and also like discuss the main milestones of development. So we will start looking at how a system is planned and how make the decision to build let's say software systems. That means the initial investigation to start with, and the process of these stages of system design. Now, once you have decided, they're in the initial phase, you are going to decide on, okay, we are going to build an information system. And then the next thing would be like whether this is feasible. And then once, you have decided to design, then we have to go through each of these, processes. Then once you do this, we need to discuss different stages. There are different system development strategies. But in this one, we will look at traditional structured, system development life cycle. We discuss what are the phases we have, what happens in each of these phases, and you are going to try out at each, session, tools and techniques that we have discussed here. Right. And then we will also briefly look at like, file organization and database design, which is actually part of, design stage. And also look at like, different feasibility studies. Right. Then apart from that, we will also look at like some, mathematical, the calculations like, cost versus the benefit. Which way you should go when you're making decisions, right? So you have to weight the cost and also the benefit that you are getting by, creating an information system. And then you also going to look at like when you develop a information system, it should be available, right? We have to talk about like availability, integrity, as well as privacy. Because it is very important, and especially nowadays, most of these systems built on top of cloud-based systems, and then privacy is one of the prime concerns, right? Then we will also look at like how the computer-based systems are implemented and also how you maintain them, right? Then the selection of hardware, software, and also like computer contract, project scheduling and software. And finally, we talk about security, disaster and recovery, and ethics in development. So these are the briefly the content of the module. Okay, but before we move on, I would, so in the aim and learning outcomes of these subjects is like we want to develop your knowledge in concepts of the system and what it means to develop and implement an information system and organization. Because when if you look at the syllabus of IT module, and most of the time this IT module is developed assuming that you have not followed IT related degree. But in case if you have already developed, as I told you earlier, you have the necessary background, which sometimes you can revise what you have learned earlier. So that is the main aim of this module. Right. And then once you complete this module, you should be able to explain all these different principles and tools which we use for system analysis and design, and also this application of this computing in different contexts, right? And not only that, most of the time you might see a lot of applications software developed in various places, but then there are like professional and ethical responsibilities of practicing, whether you can, especially when it comes to data storage and so on. You have to consider these ethical consideration as well as at the same time the quality concerns. Then another one would be like you should be able to solve different set of problems comes under analysis, design, and also the construction of information system. I hope, for example, when you're developing an information system, it will be same as developing some other thing, like let's say build a house, then you have some timeline. So which means like we need some tools and techniques which we could use to monitor each of these stages of software development. Then we also expect you to have analysis and design of small sizes. And also once you finish this part, you should be able to present your project, which means like partly I told you about some of the group work that we are going to handle. So from beginning to the end, as a collective work, we are going to talk about each of the phase of these different projects. And then plan and undertake the major individual project, prepare and deliver coherent, structured, word and written technical report. This part actually we are not going to evaluate, but as a group we are going to work on this. So this learning outcomes I have taken from the syllabus. So slight change of that. It will not be a individual one. It will be a group work, right? So having said that, okay. I would like your contributions here as well. Now, this is how people used to come. In the 1950s, we had these punch cards or time sheets where we have kind of manually making attendance. And like what you see on the right is around like 2013, where we had the ID cards or magnetic cards we use for the attendance. Things have changed over the last couple of years. Now, how people work nowadays? What do you think? Are we still using these systems? Or has anything has changed over the time?
Doctor, now fingerprint systems ongoing.
Yes, we have fingerprint systems. What else we have? Yes, we had fingerprint systems, but what we got like after fingerprints?
Eye scanners, sir.
Yeah, iris scanners, all the biometric, related, things are there. And even like voice recognition, face recognition systems were implemented. And now where are we? Are we using any of these, or is there any change over the time? For example, with the pandemic, what has happened? Our work, like traditional jobs, we used to go there. Now, what has happened? Now, for example, even this class, we used to have a physical setting. Now things have changed, isn't it? Yes, now you work from home, right? Things have changed over the years. Like, although we discuss very traditional tools and techniques, things have evolved over the time. So early days, we have used time sheets, time cards, and then fingerprints, voice recognition. Now we used to work from home, right? Things were changed over the years. So this has affects the IT industry, information technology, as well as development of information systems as well. I think we need to understand how things were changed and how it affects for the development of information systems. Right. Now, first of all, I hope everybody is familiar since you have the IT background. When you refer the information technology, we talk about hardware, software, and all the services that we will use to manage, right? communicate and share information. So most of the time, our systems were manual systems. So we need the urge to, convert them to computer-based systems. I think it's being done. Most of the places now we see that computerized systems. And what is system analysis and design? Basically, there will be a series of processes of developing such information systems. And using these systems, we can transform data into useful information, which later can be used by, people to make decisions. Now, I have seen like some of you coming from, schools, zonal education departments. Like how many of you are still using manual systems? How many of you are using computerized systems? Can you contribute a little for this? Anyone from, I have heard like some of you work in, international schools, maybe in education officers and so on. The data that you handle every day, are they computerized or are they still in, paper-based? Taranga?
So at NIBM, most of our documents were electronic data. Now we have, because we have several systems. So sometimes for minimum number of tasks, we have the manual system.
Yeah, okay. That is actually secondary, like after the school systems. Those were in the primary and also like, school system before they finish their A levels. How your systems, are they computerized? Are they manual systems? Yes, Chamila added computerized system. Chamila, I didn't remember from.
So I'm working at a school. So
Okay, Chamila, sorry, yes. So so everything is computerized, right?
Yes, it's everything computerized.
Yeah, which I think is very helpful, isn't it? Now, traditionally, we don't know what is going on, or else collection of data was very difficult, which means when you want to make some, meaningful decisions, were very difficult. But nowadays, since things were like mostly computerized, I'm assuming that most of your working places, everything is computerized, or you have some kind of information system, which is very easy for you and also the higher management to make decisions, right? So assuming this, like we are going to talk about how these systems were developed and what are the things we should look at when you actually designing information systems, right? The essential components of an information system, we talk about hardware. Now, for example, those who have computerized information systems or computer systems, you might see some hardware available in your places. Now, for example, if I take Units Repair, for example, we have a set of servers located. Actually, the learn is located here. So all the public and private universities, so one of the hubs is running through the Learn system, where we have a lot of hardware like server system, dedicated servers, where provide the services for the university system. Similarly, I'm assuming that you also have hardware at your places, and at the same time the software, right? So it's not a single software. Sometimes we use like ready-made software. Sometimes we have like, custom-made software we will use. And then you have, both system software, that means mainly the operating systems and different application software available. And then you have data, the raw material, because without data, you cannot produce any useful information, which means another essential component. Then we have processes, we have tasks, business functions, right? Different, people work on to specific results with this. And finally, the people. So those who are interested in information systems, they directly involved in the systems, they call stakeholders. So these are the essential components of, information system. There are slight differences depend on, what kind of organization you are, but I think you can relate it to this. These components will be available in your information system as well. Right. Now, before we talk about the businesses, now all these organizations, it could be a school, it could be a university, right? It could be a software company, right? We need to understand what, companies' business operations are, because without that understanding, we cannot come up with a good information system. If you look at the businesses nowadays, you can see that globalization is there, right? For example, even when it comes to, education, everything is globalized. You are not restricted to one single place. Sometimes we have participants coming from other countries as well, which is very interesting. Now, early days, for example, our master programs access only the local students. Now, in some of the programs, actually foreign students are connecting because of this. And also the technology integration, we have learning management systems to handle everything. For example, I started, putting information for your learning management system, your course page, so that we can have like all these interactions, assignment submissions, everything is, you can put it to one single place. And the requirements of hardware is now getting, early days, we have to have this servers, that means the hardware in the premises, but now we will mostly have the cloud-based computing, which means we don't need to keep our own servers, keep our own software systems installed. Maintenance will be very minimal. So these are like some of the trends in business, right? Okay, now before we go to the next one, I would like to ask another question from the audience, like what are the main business operations in your individual organizations? So can you contribute a little on that point? Before we talk about any other, I would like to think about your organizations where you are working and what their main business operations are. Yes, any ideas?
Uh,
So
Dr.
actually, sorry, Anjana, you may continue.
This is online fee structure payment system. We usually go through their site, the payment system. We usually pay through the debit cards or credit card for international school payment system.
Mm. So the company's the main business objective is making profit. profit-oriented organization where you are working?
That's a international school. They usually go through the payment system also. At the same time, for the COVID system, they use the LMS system to update the exam papers and the worksheets and everything, and conduct through by the parents also.
Okay, thanks, Anjana, for the contribution. There was another person trying to contribute earlier.
Yeah, sir. Actually, I'm working on a software company. So its main purpose is to give software solutions to the clients.
Yeah. So basically, you are profit-oriented.
Yeah.
Okay. Other than profit, what are the other, main business?
Sir, I'm working in a zonal education office. Our main objective is to provide quality education for students and capacity development of education staff.
Okay, nice. I think these are the things that I need from each of you, because you are coming from different backgrounds, and to understand like different organization. Now, for example, if I talk about University of Peradeniya, so in Peradeniya, mostly we want to provide you a quality education, and for give you a quality, let's say, master's degree. We have other things like all our lecturers are highly qualified. I think about more than 90% of our lecturers having PhD qualification and so on. So I think similarly in each and every organization you have like main business functions which you need to understand, right? Without that, we might not be able to design successful software system. Right. Okay. So when you want to model in business these operations, we need to use understand the company operations and their information needs, right? And business process modeling involves looking at the business profile and also the modules of document business operations. Now, when I say business profile, it's very interesting, right? In any organization, you can see there will be a company mission. Then there will be functions, organization, products, services. And then we have customers, we have suppliers, competitors, constraints, and also like future direction. Right now, for example, so the mission of University of Peradeniya, we want to produce our graduates are highly qualified, which is 100% employable, and also like contribute to the industry needs. Now, for that, we have to have a set of functions, right? So how do we make, like our input is, they come up with just passing, A levels, and maybe within 4 years time, we want to mold them so that they'll be taking the responsibilities of different organizations, right? Now, to do that, in University of Peradeniya, for example, we have in the top, we have Vice Chancellor will be the main person. And then we have 9 faculties, we have deans. And then within the faculties, we have different departments and department heads, lecturers, supporting staff, and so on. So all these actually contribute to our University of Peradeniya's mission. Then we have various products and services, like in our case, the products would be like different degree programs, different, faculties offer different degree programs, short courses, professional, courses. And apart from that, we provide services to different industries. For example, in engineering faculty, we have services provided for the industry. We also do develop software systems through, we provide it as the service to the, our customers, right? So when it comes to customers, for example, that will be, the students mainly. We cater, majority of our business functions actually comes with the students. The customers will meet with the students of the University of Peradeniya, as well as we have post-students like you also our customers, right? And there are like other companies which actually seek our help. So they are also like part of our customers. Then we have different suppliers out there which will supply, our needs, the equipments, the education material, right? And also sometimes different consultancies as well. And for us, for example, the competitors would be like all these, nowadays, actually, even within this, we have competitors like all the state universities, we have private universities, and at the same time, now with these online education platforms, now we exposed to global competition, where online degrees are becoming a norm, and we have to compete with those as well. Then when it comes to constraints in university systems, mainly the funding, because we are state-owned university, mainly we will get a lot of funds from the government through the UGC, and sometimes we have limitations. So with those limitations, we have to meet our the mission, and also we have to work with all the functionalities. And then definitely we have future directions as well. We have some strategic plans on what we should be doing in another 5 years or 10 years time. Right. What kind of a business profile in your organization? Can some of you contribute to that? Yes, Kavisha, where are you working in your organization, and can you tell us a bit about what your mission of your organization and what kind of functionalities you have and so on? About Tarindi?
So I'm also working at the University of Peradeniya, sir.
Yeah.
Actually, sir, our mission is to build provide a good quality education. Sir. That's it.
Prasanga?
Doctor, I am not working any particular places.
Okay. Yeah. Shifani?
Yes, I'm working in a private university. So main business goal is to provide quality education. So with the whatever the student satisfaction, to provide a better quality education for the students. That is the main aim. So there are many competitors and the suppliers to provide especially this computer hardwares and other requirement for the organizations. As well as there are many competitors when it comes to this private universities.
So how do you like, what are the key things that you survive with these competitors? Is it because of the quality education that you provide for the customer, or the
Yes.
fee structure you have? Is it?
Yeah, like most of the lecturers are qualified lecturers, like almost like most of them are having masters, and the minimum qualification for the lecturers is the degree. So, but only qualification is not sufficient to survive, like they need a lot of experience. So with the experience and the qualification, they lead with the competitors, but there are many other obstacles occurring.
Okay, thanks for your contribution, Shifan. Right, now let's move on to the business processes. Now, when you look at business processes, which means like now to meet all these company missions, you have to contribute, you have to have different, processes, events, and which will results you can describe and document it. So usually to understand this, usually we will use like modeling technique called business process model to understand how things happening within the organization. And then also, like if you want to improve, business processes, you need to understand how this will work, right? Now, for example, handling an airline reservation, which means like you have to perform various tasks. So understanding each of these is very important. You want to improve this, the business process. Right. And when we look at, business information systems, right, there are different types of systems we use. Like some of your organizations might have enterprise computer systems, or that means it will support company-wide operation for both users as well as managers as well as top management, right? Company-wide operation. So from users to the senior managers, these systems can support everyone. Sometimes we will use to say enterprise resource planning, or ERP systems are used in these organizations. Then some of the places we use transaction processing systems, basically day-to-day business transactions, right? Maybe particular, purpose. Now, for example, if you take like payroll system, or like if you take, post system, that comes under transaction processing system, which means like day-to-day, operations. Then if you go to a little bit higher level, there will be some business support systems, right? When you are on the job. So sometimes you need like whatever the data you have in the organization could be used to make decisions. And for that, we will have business support systems. Then knowledge management systems, or KMS, which uses large database, which we call knowledge, and using that you can find information, right? Very useful. Now, for example, in medical domain, you can think of this as all this information is there. When you want to find out, you can search within a large database. And also legal domain, also all the legal information could be in one single place, and then you can search for information. Then you can have user productivity systems. That is mainly the lower level. For example, email systems, conferencing, video, all these software that we use, right? That will improve the individual user productivity. So then comes under user productivity system, right? So we have discussed ERP systems, transaction processing systems, business support systems, and knowledge management systems, and user productivity systems. There are 5 systems we discussed. Can some of you can contribute to this? What kind of a system you have in your organization? Are you using ERP system, transaction processing system, business support system, or knowledge management system, and UPS? What kind of business information systems you use in your organization?
In one of my experience, I think in the construction of some of the companies highly using that ERP systems that.
Yeah, true.
That they are some of the garment factories, that apparel industries, they are highly using that ERP system, that they are material associated. Product-based companies, I think they're using ERP.
Okay, thanks, Prasanga, for your input. How about the others? Are you also using ERP systems at your organizations, or are you using different systems? Can you identify which category your system comes in? Hasanti?
In Department of Agriculture, they are mostly using that paperwork.
Okay.
But in IT sections, we are using some MIS and web development things. And we are currently not using that knowledge base or ERP system for in our department.
Yeah, but definitely I think you are using user productivity system, right? You have all these emails, fax, web conferencing, word processing. These facilities available, I guess.
Yeah, sir, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Thanks, Hasanti.
Okay.
Doctor, I have a small question that clarifies that customer-based system is another different system, or is that same one that business employee-based that previous slide has the business supports that are same system that we.
I didn't get your question properly.
That,
Can you repeat, Prasanga?
Sometime I heard that customer support systems they in some of the companies are using. Is that we can include that one as the business support system? Is
yeah, it's a separate one, and maybe it comes under I don't know, maybe transaction process system, because this is like, yeah, there are different classifications are there. I think we need to understand, Prasanga, that one as well. So the customer support system basically aiming their queries, especially regarding the products and services we provide. And we have to have a separate system which handles that. So usually you have a ticketing system where, when you seek, customer support, it's not direct. You might not get the required service at the same time. Maybe you have given a reference number, and later on they will work on their request, isn't it? So my understanding is, if you relate it to this classification, maybe it comes under transaction processing system, because it depends on customer request and then the servicing. So it is not definitely, it might be a part of enterprise resource planning, I guess, in ERP systems, since it's help or handle company-wide operations. So this might be a part of it.
okay? Thank you, Doctor.
Yeah. So others, you can also, like, if you have like experience, maybe you can contribute, please.
So I'm Tarangi here. So at NIBM also have a system called Circuito system. So actually it was developed by the software development unit, our former students. So actually, sir, it is very helpful. The thing is, like, it has a dashboard, so which includes everything. So even we can find out the conversion rates. Those who have completed the diploma, we can decide whether they are going to do the high diploma, whether we have a chance to convert them for a degree. And even for the as Prasanga said, our customer relationship management system is also integrated, I think, because whenever an inquiry comes, we record. Sometimes some inquiries are coming, some students are coming to find courses which are not available at the NIBM. So actually what we do is we collect all the data, but if we have a demand for a new course, we actually go for it and we ask them to come and we are going to start. So I think it's kind of an ERP system because all of our business processes are connected to it.
Okay, yeah. Thanks. Because like you can have some business support system where, you know, when
Yes.
students require for which courses they need, maybe you can ask a few questions and then there could be some software system which, you know, direct the students to what to choose, right? So sometimes when students comes there, they don't know what they need to do, right?
Yeah.
Maybe individually or maybe like manually we are handling each of these cases, but I think we can develop a software system to handle such cases.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thanks Taranga for your contribution as well. So let me move on to a very simple business process model where in this particular case you will have an event. The event is receiving a sales order, but then you can see that there are a couple of processes are there, like you check customer status, and then when you have a you know, getting a sales order, you check whether the customer is having enough credit for this, and then only you are going to process the customer order data and then you complete the sales order. Right. So, so this kind of a diagrams you might see in organization, especially if you want to improve the processes, because first thing is you need to understand what is happening inside. Like even as Prasanga said, customer support systems, like what are the processes? You need to understand what are the stages, right? For example, as I told you, also giving a ticketing system. So once the customer, you know, contact the customer support systems, maybe you can give a token or reference number where then customer can refer back, which is very helpful, right? And then you can go on because there are different processes. So sometimes you need to send your technical team to the customer's place and so on. So all these should be identified to understand what is happening. Right. Now, if you look at like different organization model, especially we have different levels you can see. As you can see, like the large number of employees comes under operational employees. Like in our case, in the university, we have, you know, lecturers and then also like other non-academic staff members. They do the real work. And then we have supervisors and team leaders. Like it could be like lecturer in charge, you know, or else maybe we have within the department, we have some groups and there are some lecturers heading this. And then we have middle managers, like I guess it'll be something like department heads in our case, and maybe the deans comes at then. Then we have a top managers like vice chancellors and then deputy vice chancellors and all these Senate members. You know, in any organization, you will see this kind of a structure where a large number of operational employees are there, where a very small number of top managers are there. And if you look at their business functions, it will be different. Any organization, you have a human resource management, you have accounting, you have a sales, marketing, production, as well as information technology. For example, even in the university system, we have a HR where we need to recruit both academic as well as non-academic members for various functions. And we have a separate department for accounting. We don't really have the sales, but I think it's mainly our products are, because we are the university and government university, we will get you know, the sales, maybe all the students we come getting from the UGC, but the marketing and, you know, is there because for example we are right now is the #1 university according to the rankings, but this is not comes as you know, we have to work for it. right? We have to work for it. So that we have to do some, marketing as well. At the same time, we have to meet those standards. We want to improve the visibility. The production comes in like molding our students to, the already readily available graduates. And for that, actually, information technology is a key. Almost all the degree programs, we have IT component. That means we want to have IT literacy as soft skills, right? So all these different, people work in different levels, their information requirements are different, right? Like I said, like in our case, the top managers are the vice chancellors and then deputy vice chancellors, and then maybe we can also have deans of the faculties. They are the ones actually develop long range plans, what we call the strategic plans. So they are the ones who actually define what our, for example, university's overall mission and goals are. And they use IT, as a main course of, tool to make it happen. And then we have middle managers and knowledge workers, especially they provide the direction, necessary resources, performance feedback to student supervisors and team leaders. Knowledge workers include various professionals. We have system analysis programmers, accountants, researchers, trainers, human resource specialists, and the professionals. There comes under supporting staff. And basically what they need is business support systems, knowledge management systems, and user productivity systems to work it. And then when you have the supervisors and team leaders, they look after the operational employees, and they need like decision support information, knowledge management systems, and user product systems to carry out their responsibilities. And operational employees is the lowest level in the hierarchy and the large in number. So you actually work on the day-to-day stuff, like they mostly work with the transaction processing systems, right? And what they need is to perform their job. So what you see from here is we have different levels of people in an organization, and then their requirements are different, and they are using different types of information systems, which we discussed earlier. Like we discuss various different types. Again, here we have 5 different types we have discussed. So these different people use different the systems, right? Now let's look at some system development tools. First of all, the modeling, right? So you, as you can see earlier, like business processes, we can model it using business process modeling. Basically, it will produce a graphical representation. It could be a concept, it could be a process, right? So what information or what a system provide should we represent using the business model. So during the system analysis phase, we discuss this in the coming sessions. They create models to represent these data, objects, network, and other system concepts. Then sometimes we will also use prototypes, right? We call creating an early working model. So when it comes to information systems, we will create an early working version of the information system. I think that is what we used to do in newer systems. We are not going to build, entire information systems at once, like in early days. So you start with a small prototype and you keep on improving. And then we will also have case tools. So this is to perform various system development tasks. For example, computer-aided systems engineering or computer-aided software engineering. It will actually support system analysts to develop and maintain, information systems. Right. Then you will have different approaches. The approaches are, right, structured analysis, which is what we are going to discuss mainly in this module, using system lifecycle development lifecycle, which is like we have a set of phases. In this particular case, we will discuss 5 phases, and then we will complete, one phase, and then you move to the next one. But then again, over the years, things have changed or improved. Like object-oriented analysis comes into the picture because, like, with the use of a lot of object-oriented programming languages, the object-oriented analysis is also quite common and more recent approach compared to structural analysis. Then in the latest trend, especially the system development, software development, we use agile methods, which means you are not going to, follow a predefined structure as such, but you focus more on user perspective. You focus more on what user requires. So basically, you come up with the set of features that user needs, and then you prioritize some of them, and then you keep on implementing them. And there are other development techniques are also available, like joint application development, rapid application development. These are different types of development models. Right, now let's go into details. Structured analysis, as I told you, is a traditional one, which consists of what we call system development life cycle. Usually we will see this as a waterfall model, which means you complete one phase and then you go to the next one. Now, if you ask me like whether it's using again, I guess still we can use if your requirements are not changing and it's well studied. So structured analysis can be used, right? One advantage you might see, you have an overall plan, right? You have a predefined set of phases. You know what is happening from A to Z, right? It's clearly defined, right? And then you can also like represent this is graphically. And then it also addresses all the data organization, because now, for example, before you build the database, you perform complete analysis, you design the database, and then you are going to implement. Similarly, user interfaces also you have developed, right? You plan and then you develop it. So here are the different phases that we are going to see in system development life cycle. So here we can have like this is I'm referring to the textbook. There we will have 5 stages, because different textbooks you have a slightly different number of phases. But here mainly we are going to talk about 5 phases: system planning, system analysis, system design, system implementation, and system security and support. Right. So each of these phases, you have a predefined outcome. So for example, in system planning, you have a preliminary investigation report. System analysis, you have system requirement document. In system design, you have a design specification. Implementation, you have a functioning system, which basically the outcome. And once we have the last one, that means security and also the support one, you will have the fully operational system. Right. Now, if you move to object-oriented analysis, you know that in object-oriented analysis, it's not only data that you talk about, include the processes as well. Now, for example, the object could be the people or the things or the transactions or the events, right? And then each of these events, you can look for some characteristics or properties. Now, for example, if you take a lecturer, for example, we can have a property could be his qualifications. Then there are processes, which we call methods, like, for example, the teaching or setting examinations, right? And then each of these objects can pass messages. So this is how object orientation is, right? In between, we can use of this. So when it comes to implementation, it uses object-oriented programming language, and programmer write a code which creates objects, right? And the phases are a bit similar to structured programming. That means system level life cycle, but more interactive. What do you mean by interactive here in system development life cycle? Usually, very rarely we use the feedback system, which means like you are not going really back in the phases. You complete one phase, you go to the next one, right? Whereas object-oriented analysis, it will be more interactive. So a small example on what we have in object-oriented analysis. So in this case, you know that, object orientation, we define what we call the classes, and person classes is the, you can define the superclass, and then instructor and student will be subclasses. So from superclass to subclasses, you can inherit some properties, which means whatever available in the superclass, that means in this particular case, person, is available in the subclasses, instructor and student. Now, apart from that, you might have other properties. For example, instructor, you have a set of properties which is not belong to student, right? That means we have their own properties are there. So this kind of behavior we can, represent using object-oriented analysis. So in object-oriented modeling also, you have you will see similar kind of phases, but then slightly different, like planning, analysis, and design goes in. And what comes out is the prototypes from this, and then you can test them, right? So that's basically how it works. Then the third one is agile, methods, which is the newest one. Those who works for IT industries, can you confirm? Are you still using the agile processes, or do you have any newer, development processes are using in your organizations? Those who work with the IT industry? Suresh? Those who are into software development, anyone in the class? Can you confirm like what kind of a development strategy you use? Okay, anyway, I think, yeah, Suresh is not there. Maybe we can talk to him later on, get his views. But mainly, the newer software development or information system development, they are using what we call the agile methods. The difference between the agile methods to the others is it will be incremental design. That means you are going to build smaller portion of the system at a time, which we call the prototype, and then you are keep on adjusting them. And this is user focused because user is the one who actually decide. Like I told you about set of features, and then it will be constantly adjusting their requirements. So if you the requirements of the information system, if you keep on changing, this is what we used to use agile methods. Because if your requirements are not fixed, right, then standard structured analysis will not work. So that's why most of the projects nowadays, or our requirements are changing over the time. So we are using agile methods. Right. And then, right, we will use different methods. You use spiral model. I will have a graph which represent this one. And in this one, you have a series of iterations or revisions. And especially these revisions are based on the user feedback, right? And these repeated iterations produce a series of prototypes, right? And later on, once you work in for some time, you will get the fully operational system. So some examples comes under agile methods are Scrum and extreme programming, which I will briefly show you. I'm not going to go into details how these two works. For example, in Scrum, the user will actually prioritize the features of the system, which we call product backlog. And the developers takes sprint, which we call the shorter period of time, let's say 2 weeks, 3 weeks. During that, they will, develop some of these, product features. Right. So within the 2 to 4 weeks sprints, actually, they will develop it while, getting the user input. Right. And similarly, extreme programming, usually you will have a lot of planning and feedback loops. So, for example, coding, they have technique like pair programming, which, 2 persons work in the developments. And then testing, pair negotiation, stand-up meeting, acceptance test, iteration plan, release plan, you will see that different time frames are there. So it's actually a different way of, developing such system. So when we talk about all these, what we have discussed today is we discuss what information systems are and why system development is very important. System analysis and development is very important, because any organization, we have different persons, different people need different data requirements. We need different types of systems. It's not just a single system which can support all the users. So to conclude this, my lecture theory part is over with this one. The next couple of hours, maybe till 4 o'clock, I want you to work on a small task, right? So let me introduce the task for you. And then before that, I would like to make a group among yourself. So how do I group? Can I put you in a breakout room? Or do you already have some existing groups among yourselves? Anyway, who's the batch representative? Do you have anyone?
Yeah, doctor. That we have to one of Mr. Lahiru and me.
Okay. You two are the, okay, good. Prasanga, do you already have groups among your members, or is it like?
Doctor, we have one group activity we have done in the previous one of module. If doctor have any suggestion?
So no, I mean, like what I'm going to do is I'm going to randomly put you in group. If you don't mind, I can make it happen. Is it okay?
I think, yeah, I think it's okay, because we have another type of group now that previously one is exactly. And we divided by the numbers, according to numbers we have, but I think this method also good. We can.
Yeah, I mean, we'll try out. If this
Yeah.
is not working, next week we'll have a separate, different set of groups, right?
Yeah, that's a good. Thank you, Doctor.
Yeah. Okay. So having said that, let me put you in some breakout groups. I will assign automatically. But before that, let me introduce you your group work for today. And you are supposed to finish before 4 p.m. That means the remaining time, right?
Doctor, small thing.
Yeah.
And one of now previously one of Mr. Suresh also that I have sent message that doctor is asking your name. And they told me they have power cut. So
Okay.
I think one of our brothers and sisters also have some power cut. So if doctor can,
yeah, that's perfectly all right. What those who couldn't join, what they can do is they can separately take out these group works. And some of you, sometimes they miss the lecture, they can do it separately. So ask them to contact me. I will, take case by case and then handle it. Right. So let me present the group work for you. This is for the remaining 1.5 hours time. I want you to work on this. As a group, select one of the organization among yourself. And when you're selecting organization, select a little bit more complex one, because otherwise you don't have, many things to, discuss on the group work, right? So let's say you have three of you, and then three of you will select one of the organization, and based on the selected organization, you are going to answer these questions. Like there are 5 things that I'm going to ask, create a Word document, and I will put a link in the page tonight so that you can submit it. When you're submitting, you have to write down all the details of the group members and about the organization, right? So select an organization among your group members, one organization, and identify 3 key objectives, right? There could be many, but select 3 key objectives of the organization. Second, identify 3 users in the organization, because I told you, like, depend on the different types of users, your information requirements are different. So first of all, I want you to identify a set of objectives of the organization, then identify 3 different types of users, and then identify 2 functionalities that information should support for each user. Right now, for example, as a lecturer, for example, we will have like, teach our students, right? So for a teaching, maybe we can need some information, right? Or let's say another function is we are going to, help the students to select their stream. So for that, we need some information, right? So identify like 2 functionalities of the information should support each user. And based on your requirements, remember we discussed 5 different groups, right? ERP, TPS, PSS, KMS, and UPS. Those, categorize your requirement under one of these categories. Whether that information requirement can be accomplished using ERP system, especially if it is a low level, they need to be a transaction process system and so on. Identify this, right? And then we discuss couple of development strategies. Decide which development strategy that you are going to select. Is it structural? Now, for example, let's say you are going to implement a library information system, which is very direct, traditional one. You can use for structural analysis, right? Or else you can go for agile. If your requirements are changing over the time, then you can go for agile one, right? So these are the 5 questions that you need to answer. Right. Now the next one, I will share the note with you so that, you know, you will have all the contents. And then let me start with the grouping. Right. I'm going to assign automatically. I'm going to make a group of right. I'm going to create 6 groups among the participants. You can go there, spend few minutes identifying each other, and then by that time, I will share the note with you. Right, here are the groups. We have a group, Kavisha, Hasanti, and Kalaivani, Tarindu. I will share this with you. So I put the handout in the WhatsApp group.